Welcome to the Rethink Leadership podcast with me, Jeremy Blaine. I interview leaders, experts and business professionals from around the world who are bringing leadership principles and know-how into the digitally driven 21st century workplace, with focus firmly on the how-to rather than the what. Each episode is in aid of a charity chosen by my guests, and since 2020, we've made donations to over 80 global and local causes. My guest for today's Rethink Leadership podcast is Steve Hasty, the co-owner of Swimming World, where his deep and intimate connection to the sport of swimming plays a significant role in the company's vision and history. He's also the president and owner of Hasty Awards, a national company specialising in awards for Olympic sports, such as swimming, but also gymnastics, wrestling and track, for over 30 years. With a rich background as an age group swimmer and coach, Steve's deep connection to swimming has shaped the company's emphasis on high-quality awards in the sport. We talk about his journey as a leader, what leading in elite sport and awards look like, and how a leader innovates, supports and puts people at the heart of things. Great messages for leaders in all fields from a true expert. This episode, in aid of the USA Swimming Foundation, as a thank you to Steve for joining us. This foundation supports swimming lessons for people of all ages, from beginners to Olympic hopefuls, as well as supporting professional swimmers. Hi, Steve. Thanks very much for joining me. Tell me a bit more about yourself, your journey in sport and leadership, and the Hasty Awards.
Well, I of course was the son of a swim coach and swam all through high school and in college played water polo and such. So sports have always been a big part of our lives, and that transitioned into our business. My father, at some point, he decided to try to go out on his own and start an awards company. I was just finishing up with college, and he asked me to come in and basically help them, and the rest is history.
And what about you joined that company. What about your journey in leadership in terms of what you've learned around what it takes to do that as a leader as opposed to an employee?
You know, the captain of the ship is the one that doesn't have fun right at the lake. I always say everybody loves going to the lake except for the guy who's manning the boat, right? He has a lot of things on his plate. Owning a company is very similar to that. You're not just handling day-to-day operations for that day, but you're also looking forward into the future to anticipate what some of the challenges are going to be. And so with good people and good hiring around you, you have to continually monitor what direction the company is going in.
Yeah, and that's interesting because you refer to it as a company, and of course it is a business in its own right as well. But I'm interested also for those tuning in that whether there are any nuances in there as far as leadership goes. So how you lead effectively in specialized fields such as sports and awards, and what are the strategies and approaches that work best in that environment?
So part of our overall business strategy is we bring value to the table, right? We have a niche market that is tough for competitors to come into. So our whole philosophy is to bring the highest value that we can to our customer base. But when it comes to the true leadership, that comes from having multiple employees. I can vividly remember having 5 employees. I had never been a boss. I went to high school, went to college. I never found myself being in a situation where I was the boss. I was always a worker. And so learning how to lead people is a skill set that you just can't read in a book, and getting the most out of each individual person, knowing that you're reaching their goals, and also knowing that most employees are temporary. Now I say that, but most of my employees are tenured 15-year plus people. But in the beginning, you have to always leave that door open that while they're there working for you, they're trying to grow personally as well as you're trying to grow your company. And I think my leadership style has always been a lot of communication with my employees. They are my biggest asset, and I've just tried to make sure that I'm meeting their goals while very clearly laying out what my expectations and what my goals are.
Yeah, it's almost viewing your employees as clients in some ways, isn't it? Customers, while
Absolutely.
being quite clear. Yes, I understand that. And I very much understand about protecting the niche that you're in to create further value for those that are coming into the business, either internally, of course, or those customers outside it, and those people that you're trying to excite around it as too. And at the heart of it, you're so right, it's the people, and you've got to lead that, haven't you, as much as anything else, as it
Absolutely. I think
goes.
that's the biggest challenge for sure.
Mm. Right. Well, and I imagine that in the niche that you're in as well, that brings its unique challenges from that perspective. And of course, you joined something existing. It was your dad that asked you to come into that. So let's talk about you within this, Steve, in terms of what innovative ideas or changes you introduced at Swimming World, Hasty Awards, wherever your focus has been, and how they've impacted the organization.
So would you say ideas in terms of product design, things like that, or would you say in terms of organizational and those types of changes?
The holistic piece, as much as you would like here, Steve.
Right. So basically, I think that from an organizational standpoint, I have never been a fan of having one or two leaders. In my organization, it's always worked better that I was at the top, and I had, as departments grew and created more employees, thus creating managers. I felt like peer-to-peer managers were better. So I've had 7, 8 managers at different times, all of which are on the same level. Neither one of them, having any sort of political sort of agendas. Everybody staying in their same lane, and yet we come together as a group for the overall vision of where we're headed. Again, times change, products change. We have to have as much input from people as possible in order to continue to diversify. We're a different company than we were 30 years ago. You can imagine the changes that have taken place. We have ridden that wave with good innovation of good products that continue to meet the needs of our customers. The other side of that is an investment in technology. You have to have the best equipment. You have to have the best processes in place. Efficiency is key. You also have to have your supply chain, which again, I spent a lot of my time on in the early years, developing a supply chain that we could mutually count on each other during different situations. It wasn't always about the lowest price. In fact, it was never really about the lowest price. It was more about, hey, what would you do in this particular scenario? And that's how you figure out, you build a team, and that team is who you rely on both in the good times and in the bad times.
Yeah, some very interesting things there. And you talked about that diversification being really key. Innovate to meet and exceed the needs that are constantly changing at the moment. But that piece at the end there resonates hugely with me. That's about being the best and bringing your best. How do we constantly improve ourselves, but also prove that to your customers, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Now I'm just going to go off because as you were talking there, and you were talking about that innovating and that constant sort of improvement. Of course, we're recording this just after the Olympics have happened in Paris, for those of you listening in. I've just better be really clear about that. I'm interested for you because we're seeing traditional sports, we're seeing new sports, we're seeing, kind of vying for viewership and competition. I'm just to pick your brains as an expert in this field. how do you balance maintaining traditional aspects of sports while bringing innovation and improvements and changes to sport in general, but also organizations like your own, which are fueling that sector?
So we spend a lot of time talking with our customers. We like to get in front of them
Hmm.
at as many opportunities as we can, and we try to get as much feedback from what we're doing, what they would like to see us do, what can we do better. Sometimes it's about learning about their organization and actually seeing where we can help them. Sometimes our customers don't realize that, for instance, on the award side, we handle many of our states' awards programs where we ship product to multiple meet hosts throughout the state.
Mhm.
Those meet hosts use the medals. Obviously, they don't use all of them, and we're able to then, they don't want to store them. They don't have a common office. So where do? They use us for that. They send those back. We give them credit for it. And that program and that process has been one that we have repeated multiple times. It gives our customers some relief in having one or two people basically manage their awards program throughout the year, which it can be quite extensive for an entire state. And on the swimming world side, we spend a lot of time talking with coaches and talking with people who read our articles and use our app. And we launched our app right before the Olympics. It was in beta form, and it was an overwhelming success, even in beta. And one of the things that we're looking at now is how do we take other applications that coaches are using on their phones, for instance, meet managers, swim team management software, things like that. How do we embed that into the Swimming World app to give them the potential to go to one place on their phone? That is some of the feedback that we have been getting.
So congrats, first of all, on that Swimming World app. It sounds like the timing was perfect and the execution was great.
It
Um,
really was. We kept it simple. There's going to be more bolt-ons to it, but we were able to give just the meat and potatoes version of it, and that was, to say the least, it was an overwhelming success. And our PR firm did a good job of announcing it, but there were still many people who had never seen it and had not heard about it, and so literally every face-to-face interaction that Jack had while he was in Paris involved helping somebody download the app and get it on their phone. And then we were able to get immediate feedback from them.
and that's just what and data is everything, isn't it?
It
When you're getting that
absolutely is.
also in the moment, for that. And of course, many digitalization innovations like this still fail because they're not customer centric enough. It sounds like that yours are absolutely based on the target audience that was there. So if you don't mind me asking, what's actually behind the purpose of the app, and what does it do about your customers' experience, the people that are actually going onto it?
Well, people spend more time on their phone than they do on their computers. We are Swimming World Magazine is a legacy brand, right? It's been around since 1965. And so transforming that brand into a more modern version has been a little bit of a challenge over the years. And certainly before we purchased it, that was the main hurdle to overcome. So when Jack and I purchased the company, we knew that modernizing it and bringing it into the coach's everyday world, it was going to be necessary. So the app was one of the first items that we wanted to do. The other piece of it is that I would say that our target market, or the market that knows our brand the most, is going to be 40 years and over. And that means that you're leaving out an entire generation of coaches, but you're also leaving behind an entire group of swimmers all the way down to 6, 7 years old. The app will serve as a platform for us to reach all of those demographics in one place. And it is directly linked to our website. So it's not like we are losing the website. The website is still there. But my guess is that within the next couple of years, it's going to be 10-1. People are going to be using the app over the website because it's just easier, it's clearer, the pictures are better. It's the world we live in. We live on our phones.
Well, you're talking the language of successful digital transformation as well. It's away from systems and traditional areas like that into platforms and an ecosystem which binds things together, whether it's communication, insight, whatever it needs to be. So you're well on the way, it sounds like there. And I'm also sure that yourself, in your journey, but also then with Jack, when you brought on Swimming World as well, is that you face some challenges as leaders. You don't need to be specific here, but if you don't want to be, but you can be. But you share, your own journey in that and the challenges you face. How has overcoming those challenges contributed to your personal and professional growth as a leader?
Yeah, I think that when I was reading through some of the questions that we might discuss, you had mentioned some moments in time where they changed me personally as a leader or as the owner of a company. And one of the stories that I would say is we had a customer who was a procrastinator, and that they oftentimes waited until the last minute, blew past deadlines and things like that, to produce more than 20,000 medals for a very significant event for a major city. And I let that sort of happen because I was trying to coddle them along and help them along. Well, it ended up that the production time was cut way short, and we had 20,000 medals arrive 1 week before the event, and they were unacceptable. They were not going to be usable. And so I flew in, and of course, at this point in time, I'm a little disappointed in myself. I'm disappointed in the customer. I'm disappointed in the factory. And it would have been very easy for me to just simply walk away and just say, "Oh well, we'll redo the medals, and at a incredibly high cost, we'll deliver those medals to each person." And what I actually did was call my customer, and my customer and I met at his office, and he and I spent about 5 or 6 hours going through how we may actually be able to repair these. And he had the one thing I didn't have. He had an access to labor force, which was actually the participants who were going to be participating in the event. And it was really an amazing week in which we had shifts of 20 people at a time coming in and repairing these metals, and the event went off without a hitch, and to this day they're some of the best metals that we've ever produced. So I think that when you're faced with different challenges, sometimes you just got to think outside the box. I would have never thought at first that I was going to go and repair. I didn't think I had the means to do it, and by just sitting down with the director, he and I, of course, had done business together for 15 years at that point, and we knew each other well. But what we came away from it was probably what I was trying to accomplish all along. Number one is we can't blow past deadlines. Deadlines are there for a reason, and we had gotten lucky many years before that, but at this point in time, it didn't work out. And so it was a good learning experience, both for him and for me. And I've taken that with me. Don't ever take it for granted. You've got to, you never know when you're going to be faced with a challenge, and you just got to break it down into smaller parts and figure out how to get it done. And that's what we did.
That is a story of true collaboration. behind
Yeah,
behind a challenge.
very
Yeah,
much.
boy, we talk about fail fast often and forward and experimentation, but when you've got 20,000 failures to fix,
Yep.
it kind of goes out the window a little bit, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I'm curious actually. Did you or your customer or both of you go back to the supplier around this and challenge them
So we
into?
did, yeah, and obviously, that was a main piece of it. They had used some inferior material to base it. It was a multi-piece metal, and to get them together, they had used an inferior product, and they had blamed the fact that we were rushing them, and we didn't give it adequate time to cure, which, to be quite honest with you, was correct. And the way that again, that was also a very good learning experience for the factory. In fact, we have put protocols in place, videos, things like that, so that we can review each on a metal with that size of quantity. We have protocols in place where we are double checking all of that. And to be honest with you, it hasn't happened. It has not happened on that scale since. And so the way it ended was that the customer was happy. We paid all the labor to get the labor done. The factory, I can't remember what we worked out with the factory. I think we split it or something like that. But at the end of the day, the customer was a stand-up customer and said, "Hey, this was a rough week, but we ended up getting what we ordered, and they ended up paying their bill in full."
Right, what a great story as well, that Steve. It's like, I know you don't want to go through that again, but you get some learnings out of that, don't you?
You
And
sure do. You sure do.
you certainly do. I think listening to you throughout all of this, Steve, it's quite interesting. You're clearly an innovator. You're looking how sport is transforming, how you can transform your businesses as well. And for those tuning in, those leaders tuning in, what are the strategies that come front and center for you these days when you're thinking about driving growth and managing those businesses successful moving forward?
So when you're a niche market company, you're limited to how much growth that you can gain, especially when you are saturating particular markets. When you're the big supplier in that particular sport, the only way that you're going to be able to grow significantly is you're going to have to broaden the sports that you cover. And so what we have done is we have people internally who do research on trends in different sports. Like, we picked up on pickleball about 6 or 7 years ago, and even though the sport had been around since the 90s, it really was a pre and post COVID sport. It for whatever reason, it got people interested in pickleball. And so we started off right off the bat, going to governing bodies and learning the sport and producing a product line that would meet the needs of all of these tournaments going on. And now we're the pickleball awards company from coast to coast. It was our number one growing sport. We've kind of started to plateau a little bit, but it's still an amazing sport. Another example of that would be women's wrestling. It would be easy for everybody to just continue to put together wrestlers, which are obviously male, specifically our stock medal line and our stock trophy line as well. But doing research and realizing that women wrestling is not just a fad. In most states, there are more girls out for the wrestling team than there are than the boys. And so for us, producing a product line specifically for female wrestlers became an obvious need, something that nobody else has done. And so again, good feedback, good, listening to trends, riding those waves, not being afraid of the investment has been a cornerstone of our philosophy.
That's it. For me, that's being ahead or in line of the trends and really understanding your market, what's coming. And an example of how ignorant I am is that I had no idea pickleball existed in the 90s. I thought it was a relatively new phenomenon, which I could have found on Google, I'm absolutely sure, had I have gone to look. But wow. So thank goodness you're in charge of that business, Steve. Look, we've come to the end of our chat, Steve, and I really appreciate your time. And I'm sure that many tuning in will want to connect with you, find out more about the businesses too. How do they do that?
So they can go to swimmingworld.com or they can go to hastyawards.com. Those are my two main companies. And like I said, the Swimming World app is available to download. It's free. And I encourage anybody who's into swimming to do so.
Thank you. Well, that's going to be my first action following this podcast. Steve Hasty, thanks very much for joining me.
Jeremy, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Rethink Leadership podcast with me, Jeremy Blaine. Please like, comment and support us on your favourite platform and subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can watch as well as listen to each episode.